the Board of Regents today are going to meet to decide the fates of UCLA's move to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Now, my feeling is, and I'm here to tell you, my feeling is that you are going to have UCLA join the Big Ten. I don't think it makes any sense at all to have UCLA stay in the Pac-10 because I think, and I know George Kliavkoff is not the most intelligent commissioner. In fact, I can promise you that. But my guess is on some level, he has to have some level of fear about what happens if UCLA stays.
Yeah.
Because I look at like Oregon State, Washington State, Oregon, Washington. The Pacific Northwest is absolutely valuable. Beyond the fact that there's a huge television market up there, beyond the fact that there's a lot of donor sponsor, booster money there.
Yeah.
Those are really solid programs. I think, if you look at the renovation that's going on at Reser, we talked about this with the Oregon game. You look at the renovation that's going on at Reser, and you look at the fact that Reser Stadium, where Oregon State plays in Corvallis, half empty for the Oregon game and as loud as you want it to be. It was an unbelievable atmosphere, and Oregon absolutely collapsed under the pressure at Oregon State. My point is, Oregon State's a force to be reckoned with if they continue that slow climb that we've seen. Pullman, Washington, absolutely a home field advantage. How many USC teams there have gone there to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's value in those programs. And you can't tell me that Kevin Warren in the Big Ten doesn't know that. You can't tell me that George Kliavkoff at the Pac-12 doesn't know that. You know that they know that. And I think that's what's on the line. If you force UCLA to stay in the Pac-12, I think you're forcing out Oregon, Washington, Oregon State, because the Big Ten's not just going to sit and have a gap in their rotation now.
Gonzaga.
Right? Like, yeah. But you joke about that. I think Gonzaga is absolutely one of the programs that is a true gem.
Yeah.
I will again say SMU, San Diego State, and Gonzaga are the three biggest prizes out there right now today. And if I am the Pac-12 or if I am the Big 12, I am fighting my ass off to get Gonzaga basketball into my conference.
Well, yeah, and I think if you're the Big 12, Gonzaga is the one.
Yeah.
It's just they are the gem, and I think you have those other schools you were mentioning that are also very valuable, but I just think that everyone seems to forget that the Big 12 is a prolific basketball conference. They're the best basketball conference in the nation, in my opinion, and I think that staying on that branding is really important to that conference.
Yes.
And I think when you talk about the Baylor Bears winning a national championship, what was that, 2 seasons ago? Like you have strong success. Like
the Big
Oklahoma
12's
State,
the best
like,
basketball
so
conference in the country.
You have all this talent and all this ability in basketball in that conference. So to me, it's like, again, like I said yesterday on the show, this UCLA thing with the Board of Regents is very simple. They're going to make a decision, and I'm with you. I think they allow them to go to the Big Ten. I just don't know why you'd stand in the way. But let's just get crazy and say they keep them in the Pac-12. Okay, great. Now all those Pacific Northwest schools are going to be looking at the Big Ten, and Gonzaga is going to be looking at the Big 12 because Gonzaga is a free agent, obviously, and they're looking for they're looking for that true legitimacy of their program, much like BYU was looking for that legitimacy and joining a conference. I feel like Gonzaga is in that same spot where they're like, yeah, sure, we may be in a conference now, but we need to get into a P5. So to me, it's very straightforward. Yep.
801 West Valley says, rip Pac.
Rest in peace, bro.
Do we really still think the Pac is dead? Because I do.
Yeah.
I think if they stay or if they go, the Pac is dead.
Yeah.
Connor Johnson says, Prime coming to Colorado might have saved us. 801. I think Prime coming to Colorado makes Colorado a much more valuable commodity. And again, simply saying, anybody notice that the Pac-10, 12, your mom doesn't have a TV deal yet? And again, if you're new to the show, we've been reporting, TV industry sources told us, I don't even know when, August at this point, I think, that Fox was out as a tier 1 option for the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Fox has told the Pac-12, hey, we're not interested in being your number 1 rights holder. And really that put the Pac-12 behind the 8 ball because, again, if you go back and rewind this a little bit, you know that Fox and ESPN all but colluded in their dealings with the Big 12, in their dealings with the Pac-12. The issue is Fox wants college basketball. They go to the Big 12. They get the majority of the bigger matchups in the best basketball conference in the country. ESPN gets the majority of the football. Hey, everybody's happy. Fox goes to the Pac-12 and says, hey, we're not interested in being a tier 1 rights holder. So now you're down to ESPN and Amazon.
Yeah.
And ESPN had a philosophical shift, we were told, wherein they're not looking at Amazon as a competitor. They're looking at Amazon as an inevitable place that's going to be a home for college live sports. Absolutely. That shift is important because ESPN is not going to negotiate against Amazon.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it. And why is that? Because ESPN has ESPN Plus. In the app, ESPN Plus streams live sporting events all the time. And when you look at ESPN, ESPN TV, ESPN Radio, ESPN Plus, that's the package that you're selling into. That's where your rights are being granted to. The issue is that the Big Ten kind of set the bar with their TV deal.
Yeah.
And now the Pac-12, who doesn't have the Big 12 to play off of anymore because, well, the Big 12 has a TV deal. The Pac-12 is kind of on this island where you have ESPN that's losing subscribers. You look at some of the numbers that came out yesterday. I believe it was the New York Times published an article that talked about the fact that according to Nielsen Media Research, which is the way TV ratings are built through Nielsen, ESPN and ESPN2 subscribers dropped 7% since January year over year, while ESPNU declined 12%.
Right.
The Fox Sports cable channels FS1 and FS2 lost 6% and 11% of their subs, and the Big Ten Network, owned by Fox, the most widely distributed conference channel, lost 9% of its subscribers. So what does that tell you? Fox and ESPN are not just throwing money everywhere, which brings me back to the question, if UCLA stays, is that a good thing? I don't think it's necessarily a good thing, because if you're ESPN, are you paying for UCLA? Well, the problem is I don't believe that UCLA delivers you Los Angeles.
Never.
I don't believe it does.
It's an SC town, bro.
It is an SC town. That's exactly right. I would pay for an emerging market like, I don't know, San Diego, which is why I think San Diego State makes a lot of sense. If I'm ESPN Plus, I'm paying for Gonzaga to join.
Right.
Right now, they're a WCC. Are they a G5 or a P5? That's a national championship basketball program.
Gonzaga.
And by the way, their secondary sports are fantastic as well. Gonzaga plays some really good baseball.
Yeah.
We've talked about that for weeks on the show, right? So that makes sense. I'm not paying for UCLA.
Yeah.
And I think ESPN has as much as said that.
Well, and I think that the true trouble is that you know, once the ESPN shift in mindset happened on Amazon, that's when I kind of got on board with the Pac-12's in real trouble here, because you're not able to say, hey, the Big Ten's TV deal is $70 million a year per school, so that means then inherently that we should be 50 a year, or like what, you know, there's not a great way for the Pac-12 to be like, okay, you paid $1 for this, that then means that we're worth 50 cents or whatever, you know, like that just doesn't exist.
But you know what this all comes back to? This all comes back to Larry Scott and, you know, Chris Hill, the old athletic director at Utah, looking down their nose at TDS. They're just that school of Mormons down south. They're magic underwear and caffeine-free Coke.
Yeah.
Well, what if the Pac-12 had BYU in the program?
Yeah, what if the Pac-12 had the mindset that they weren't the greatest thing since sliced bread and they needed to act a little humble?
What if BYU was a member of the Pac-12 right now? How much more value is in the TV contract? Because I think it's significant. Because I think what BYU has shown, and independence with ESPN as a partner, is that they are valuable on multiple fronts. They are valuable in basketball. They are more valuable in football. You put BYU on TV, you're getting 1 million views. I mean, it's that simple. Nighttime, daytime, doesn't matter. You're getting 1 million viewers. And you're getting big games. And now BYU is in the Big 12. But look at how well they've done against the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Now they're in the Big 12. And look at some of the matchups. Like a Baylor-BYU matchup is a good matchup. Oklahoma State-BYU is a good matchup.
Yeah.
And I think as well as they've competed against the bigger programs that have been on their schedule, they've had some duds. Absolutely. The Wisco, the at Notre Dame's, like, no doubt. But BYU now with with where they are, I think is a real lesson to be learned by the Pac-12. You are not some great, amazing conference.
Well, and I think the reliability for, and this is what is so ball-breaking about the decision not to add BYU back in the day is like BYU is going to get you a milli every time. 1 million viewers every single time.
And they bring a
step foot.
relationship with ESPN that's well intact.
Yeah.
And are you telling me if Utah and BYU were in the same conference, that doesn't bring more value, that doesn't bring more viewers?
Well, that whole concept right there with the meeting today, I think, is front and center. I mean, if you're Utah, you're sitting here saying, oh, man, like, they're going to decide one way or the other on UCLA, and then we're going to be left to kind of pick up the pieces as the school that's kind of on an island in the state of Utah. If you think about it, like, most of the Pac-12 is the West Coast. If you really want to get into nitty-gritty, like, think about it.
Yeah,
The
I don't know,
Pac-12
man.
is a Pacific time zone conference outside of Colorado and Utah. So these two schools are sitting here at the behest of this decision, and they're going to pay a price for not being more proactive about getting to the Big 12 or getting, frankly, I don't even care what conference, just getting to a place where, Mark Harlan's not on Twitter saying, yeah, we're never leaving the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to me that you would say that.
Yeah, and furthermore, what's crazy is that you're talking about a situation where you have a guy in Mark Harlan, and you have a guy in like Chris Hill, the former athletic director at Utah, is amazing to me. Talking about how the fan base is huge in the Bay Area. So you're a Bay Area program then. So you don't have, and what did you just say there? Because we know, if anything, with the church as its foundation, BYU has a national fan base.
Yeah.
BYU, is it global and they all watch TV? Well, I got news for you. When you're out serving a mission, you're not watching TV.
Yeah.
You're not watching football games, right? Nationally, yes, BYU is a powerhouse on TV. And that's what is so funny to me about Chris Hill saying, oh, well, our fan base here at Utah, our alumni base is in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Okay, great. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? If you go to the Big 12, are you telling me that you can't bring fans from the Bay Area to watch your games anymore because you're in the Big 12? Like, what sense does that make, Dr. Chris Hill? It's the ineptitude of the brain trust that is at Utah's past.
Yeah.
And I like Mark Harlan. We'll see what happens. He claims they're never leaving the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. All right. Let's see. 513 Bearcat says never say never. Exactly right.
Right.
Connor Johnson says my guess would be 35-ish for Pac schools in the media deal. Man, if they got the $35 million, I think that'd be a home run.
It would.
The question again, and I know I've asked this 20 times in the last couple of weeks, but does Amazon light your fire if you're the Pac-10? If you're a Pac-10 TV fan, if you're a USC fan, yeah, I think you probably have no problem with Amazon.
I don't think you have an issue with it, but I don't think you're like, oh my God, it's on Amazon.
But does it grow your does Amazon Prime Video as your home for Pac-12 football? Does that get you further reach? And I mean actual eyeballs on the game. More reach than the lack of a direct TV deal in your current situation with the Pac-12 network.
I think locally it does. I think that for
Maybe.
the campus, for the folks who live around the school, like your real diehards, yeah, I think it does, because if now you're on the phone, so now they can get it when Utah was on Pac-12 network previously. But I don't think that Buddy in New York City who grew up in Utah and wants to watch the game, like I don't think that she person is so excited about Amazon that they're like, yes, finally the Pac-12 is on Amazon, because what does it mean? And I still maintain this is Amazon's biggest problem.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch the SEC on ESPN and then pick up not my DirecTV remote, right? The actual remote that came out of the box with my TV to flip to the Amazon Prime app.
And then I have to not only flip to the app, I have to sign into the app, I have to click on the game, then the game spools. Like it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I want to hit the previous button on my DirecTV
Exactly.
remote, and I want to go from the Alabama, whoever game.
And I know it's a small thing, right? But think about it. Like, we joke on the show about eating wings all the time, or like food's a big thing on our show. On Saturday, all I want to do is I want to eat a bunch of food, feel like a fat ass, and watch football. Is that too much to ask?
And as a Notre Dame fan, which I am, I don't want to have to flip from Notre Dame to Prime Video. It's not.
I don't want to flip when my hands are covered in barbecue sauce, bro.
No. It'll be interesting. And by the way, the one thing that I will say, and I would love to do it again today if you guys are up for it, are you an Amazon member? Are you an Amazon Prime member? Do you have it? Because if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get Prime Video.
Yeah.
And it was surprising a couple of weeks ago when we did it on the show how many people were not Amazon Prime members.
Like, how many of you have perfected the technique of eating, I'll use Cheetos as an example, having your hands covered in whatever food you're eating, Cheetos, but being able to use your pinky knuckle to hit the previous button to get back to the other game, right?
Damn right.
Like we've all perfected that technique, and now, because if they sign Amazon and they do this, and now we got to go to the Prime app and not DirecTV or whatever your cable situation, like, dude, like, stop making my life more difficult. Amazon won't take over until I've got the NFL, college football, and I would say the NBA on one platform. That is when you will get me to say, okay, cool. Thursday Night Football is on Amazon. I know I've got Braun and Jason Tatum here in about a half hour tipping off. Cool, we're good. We're absolutely great. We're golden.
All right. Brett Terry says, who's giving the Pac $35 million per school? Well, I think the only one that's going to do that is Amazon. Greg Hale says, I want to move on from the Pac-12. I've been back and forth for a while, but after beating SC twice this year, makes me want to have those epic fights with big teams. O&W not enough if UCLA leaves. I agree. Oregon and Washington not enough.
I agree. And I don't even know that they're going to be there if you. I keep saying if. It's most likely when UCLA leaves. Like, who the hell is even saying that they're still going to be in the conference? That's what I think Georgie Poo doesn't understand.
I do wonder if there's a domino effect no matter what the decision is today. It's almost inevitable.
Yeah.
Right? Jeremy says, Mark Harlan said Utah won't leave the Pac-12, but he probably will leave the Pac-10. See what he did there?
Yeah.
See what he did there. Jordan says, I like Amazon when I watch Utah football. I'm not flipping through channels. Well, but see, I am not a Utah or BYU fan. I'm a Notre Dame fan. Yeah. So when Notre Dame's on, I'm going to flip back and forth to the Utah game or the BYU game.
But also, it should be said, and I think this is a really important point, we on the show are connoisseurs of sport, right?
Yes.
Like when I'm home, it is very rare that there's not sports on the TV. If there's not sports on the TV, I'm home for an odd reason, and it's like the middle of the day, like it's that type of thing.
Well, me and Darkwing Duck, Mrs. Monty, yesterday, we were... my wife has a broken arm, so I call her Darkwing Duck. Me and Darkwing Duck are watching TV, and we were watching Blackhawks Capitals, waiting for Ovi to score his 800.
Just Capitals.
Thanks. So we were watching that. I would remind you, Taser got a goal last night.
Thank you.
So we were watching that. We were watching a bunch of basketball, obviously the Jazz game, but we were flipping back and forth. Like, I mean, we were watching different sports things.
Yeah.
And looking at Instagram and looking at travel plans.
But that's because you don't have to put effort into thinking, okay, all right, which of the 10 remotes am I going to have to use to get to Amazon this time, right?
It's one remote. I think that's your best point. That and being a fat ass eating wings.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what life is about.
Like, give me wings, give me pizza, give me Cheetos, give me ranch.
Yeah,
give it to me.
Luis Capazzo, Jake, that's a great Saturday.
You know what? Right?
UC Reach and Cumbie. Food is the third co-host of the Monty Show.
You.
It is.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you.
The Oreos are sitting outside waiting to hop in the guest chair today, right?
Golden double stuffed.
I'm proud of you yesterday, though. We were at the grocery store 2 days ago, and I'm like, hey, you want some Oreos? He goes, no. I was like, all right, thank you. You know. That was very good of you. Connor says, doesn't everybody have Prime? No, they don't.
But not everyone, but a couple 100 million people do. And I'm not joking.
Yeah.
Like, there are a couple 100 million people who have it.
I look at the housewives who never watch football.
Yep.
They don't care about sports. My wife very little cares about sports.
Right.
She's not watching Amazon Prime Video for the Pac-12. So how many people that are, and this is the argument that I know that John Arand on the Sports Business Journal was talking about this as well. How many people of those hundreds of millions of subs care about sports? I'm going to guess a quarter of them. because I have to believe there's a lot of people who are aged out of the demo. I have to believe there are a lot of women, there are a lot of men that don't care about it. Like I think that there's also, by the way, one of the questions Amazon has not answered, how many dead clone accounts do you have for Amazon Prime? How many accounts are not being used? And my house is a good example of this. Up until I think 3 years ago, that's when we started using our Prime account religiously. How many dead?
Well, what happened 3 years ago?
The pandemic. How many dead Prime accounts are there?
And by the way, it should also be pointed out, I think you made a great point about how few people care about sports who have Prime accounts. This conversation has never been about the masses. I want to make sure we're on the same
no,
page.
it has not.
This conversation, so let's start with student athletes. This conversation about UCLA going to the Big Ten is about a small sliver of people on campus, right? This conversation, generally speaking, in the national big picture of TV viewership, is about a small sliver of viewers. The problem is those viewers and those student athletes generate massive amounts of money for everybody involved.
That's right.
So the question is, yes, how many Prime accounts are bots, or how many Prime accounts are dead accounts, right? Like, how many Prime accounts are not actual human beings?
How many people are Capazzo? I use Prime Video all the time. I don't have cable or satellite.
Yeah, right? So, but Compazzo, here's my question for you, bro. Do you do like Hulu or any of the other streaming? Netflix, let's say, and by the way, if Prime does roll out this whole sports thing, would you have a pallet for paying $20 a month instead of $14.99?
Yeah. Oh, Brett Terry makes a great point. Amazon won't promote the conference either. The Pac will become a real stepchild of college football. Well, they don't promote the NFL, but by the way, I will say, on Thursday nights, when you pop on Amazon Prime, the first thing they offer you is NFL football.
You don't have to think about it. You don't have to go hunting for it, which, again, for the Pac, I think is a major improvement. But again, why does Thursday Night Football work? Because I think this is also another important point. Thursday Night Football on Amazon works really well because it's an event. People know it's one game, this day, this time, on this platform. I wonder what viewership will look like if they've got 10 football games on Amazon. I wonder what that looks like.
Eric in Raleigh says, if an OTT service like Sling or YouTube TV can partner with Amazon to carry live sports, it would be over for ESPN and Fox. Well, the problem with that theory is, we've talked about this on the show too, Amazon's not in business to partner with people.
No.
Amazon is exclusivity. They want you on their platform so you can click the product links that are on the screen.
Yep.
They want you on their platform so that you'll click their partner links that are on their screen.
Yeah.
What Amazon Sports does is it gets Oakley to sell snowboard goggles or ski goggles on Amazon. Mm-hmm. What it does is it creates incestuous relationships.
You tell me Nike's not doing ads during Thursday Night Football?
By the way, did you know that you can buy Nike clothing on Amazon? Did you know that it is synergy. So Amazon's never going to sell rights to they're never going to co-op rights with YouTube TV. That just flies against what's best for their platform.
Yeah.
So we've talked about that. Absolutely. Brett Terry said, I know they're the stepchild and you know it too, but if they sign with Amazon, everyone will know it. Yeah. Everyone knows about the Pac-12 network. The problem is DirecTV doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I just think with all of the changing face of TV, and by the way, in the studio, we watch YouTube TV. We do not have satellite or cable.
Yeah.
Our TV provider is internet-based YouTube TV.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal.
Crispy.
It's phenomenal. And if I can get the NBA League Pass, if I can get the NHL Center Ice, if I can get look at DirecTV, what's going to happen with Sunday Ticket?
Great question.
Where's Sunday Ticket going?
Sunday Ticket going to Amazon?
Is Sunday Ticket going to the NFL app? I don't know. Where's it going? There's a lot coming here. San Diego State says, I also have Sling TV with blue and orange sports packages. That reduces the cumbersome channel switching. Huge point. That's the right word. It's cumbersome.
Saying, dude, people don't want to have 10 remotes and change 50 channels.
Neville 93 says football and tacos and Saturday's best Saturday think of and some Modelo's.
Yeah, you see what I mean? That's what we want. We want great food, whatever that food is, beer if you like beer, and sports on the tube. Yep. That's what we want.
Absolutely.
We don't want to be frustrated after we spent all week getting beat over the head by our boss in our 9 to 5. Right? We don't want that. We want to be like, yeah, I don't have to think about work because I got bomb-ass tacos in front of me with, two football on the TV and a nice Modelo on the coaster. Like, that's what I want. Yeah. So give it to me.
Yeah, by the way, are you guys Modelo drinkers? Because there has been a beer revolution. We were having a conversation yesterday. Beer in this town is broken.
Right.
Are you guys, what's your beer of choice? How many people drink Modelo? I'm a Modelo guy. I am two things.
Yeah, Modelo's sick, dude. I love it.
Coors Light or Modelo. Yeah. And I'm usually a Modelo guy. So Neville bringing up food in Modelo.
Modelo is just easy to drink. That's the thing. It tastes good. It's easy to drink. That's why I think it's so successful. And I think that it just is. Like, it's one of those things in life, I feel like, where you're like, yeah, cool. So I'm having food. Let's grab a Modelo and we're good to go. Like, that's just what it is.
Yep. Oh, interesting. Before football at 50, brother says, salutations, my fellow pal in the Monty show. Last time I do have cable since 10 years, but now I have antenna plus Amazon Prime, but many people able to use Apple TV, but it's a bunch of money. Okay. Neville says Modelo's Negra.
Yeah, a lot of people like that.
Love the dark Modelo.
Yeah.
Love the dark Modelo.
Yeah.
Tyler P says, stop drinking 10 years ago. Okay. It's all good. It's all good. Nothing wrong with that. And I appreciate that. B-Mar says Golden Spike smacks. I know some Golden Spike drinkers. Absolutely. San Diego State says, my beer, Mickey's and Coors Light. Don't judge me. I'm telling you, if you have not tried Modelo Especial, dude, I'm telling you,